Hello my dear students of secondary grade. أهلا بكم حبايبي طلبة وطالبات الصف الثاني الثانوي. Today we are going to start the first episode in the second term, and we are going to speak about one of the vital functions that all living organisms must carry out. Actually, we need to start the story from the very beginning. We start with a person that needs to eat. After eating, the digestive system carries out its function and digests all the food that he gets. And the digested food should be absorbed by the blood and goes with the blood circulation to be distributed all over the body. Also, this person breathes, so he gets oxygen in the blood, and the blood also distributes this oxygen all over the body cells. Inside the body cells, the cellular respiration is carried out. So there must be waste products accumulated in the cells due to the vital processes. And we call these vital processes or vital activities or chemical reactions that take place in the cell. We call it metabolism. So due to the metabolism that occurs inside the living cell, some of the waste materials are produced. And this is our lesson today. The living organism must get rid of these waste materials that produced from metabolism, catabolism, and anabolism. This is why many living organisms have different ways of excretion. Let's start today by definition. What is excretion? What's meant by excretion? Excretion is a vital process by which the body gets rid of waste products resulting from metabolic activities. And excretion in plants or in animals take place in different ways. Excretion occurs through the plasma membrane. As we said, the excretion means the getting rid of the waste products coming out from the living cell, and it goes out of the cell through the plasma membrane. This is why we don't say that defecation is considered as excretion. Defecation means getting rid of the undigested food through the digestive system. And of course, it's not excretion at all. Now, let's see the excretory organs through which the living organism, actually the animals, get rid of the waste products or the excretory products. The first one is carbon dioxide. Of course, carbon dioxide comes out from the living cell after carrying out the cellular respiration. And this carbon dioxide goes out of the body through the lungs in exhaled air. Water, excess amount of water, comes out of the body through kidneys or skin, through kidneys with urine or skin with sweat, and lungs with exhaled air. And this exhaled air contains water vapor, of course. The nitrogenous wastes that are produced due to the metabolism or catabolism of the excess amount of proteins, they must be expelled out of the body through kidneys, skin, in small amounts. Also, the excess amount of salts that the person feeds with the excess amount of salts come out of the body from kidneys and skin. Spices, and the spices could be present in the food or in the drinks that we have. So these spices must be expelled out of the body during or with the kidney or by the kidney and the lungs as volatile substances. Let's start excretion in the human body. And the human body contains many organs by which it gets the waste materials out of it. The first one is the skin. The skin is considered the biggest organ in our bodies because it covers the whole body. And by examining the skin, we find that it is composed of two layers. The first layer is called epidermis. So the epidermis is the outer layer of the skin, which is in contact with the surrounding medium. And it is composed of flattened, broad epithelial cells full of horny substances like keratin. And so the keratin substance is present in the cells of the epidermis. And the upper layer of the epidermis is composed of dead cells. And it is very important to be dead cells to be isolating layer from the body and the surrounding medium. The inner layer of the epidermis is composed of cells containing or producing the melanin substance, which gives the skin its color. So it's responsible for the skin color. The other layer is, or the inner layer is called dermis. And the dermis contains many things like blood capillaries, nerve endings, lymphatic cells, hair follicles, fats or fatty cells, and sweat gland. Let's see a section of the skin and see what is the components of the skin. As you see, the upper layer here is called the epidermis. Do you see it? So the epidermis has two layers, the upper one, which is composed of dead cells, and the inner layer here, as I make the mouse moving on, this layer contains the cells that produce melanin substance. The inner layer of the skin is called dermis, and as you see here, the dermis is composed of many things, many organs. This is, the biggest one here is the hair follicle. The hair follicle, or the base of the hair, and this hair comes out from the skin through the epidermis. And as you see, the hair follicle is connected with erector muscle, and this erector muscle contracts to make the hair erect. When it is cold, we shiver, and this shivering means the erecting of the hairs due to the contraction of the erector muscle. And the hair is connected with a sebaceous gland, and this sebaceous gland or oily gland to supply the hair with oily substance to make it pliable and easily grow out. Also in the dermis, there are a great number of blood capillaries to supply all of these parts with the food and oxygen and carries out the waste materials. Also, we can see the nerve endings, and the nerve endings are in different shapes and different types to convey or to receive different types of stimuli like temperature, high temperature or low temperature, or the pain sometimes we feel, and many other many other stimuli that the nerve endings receive. The most important thing here, the most important organ that we need to study is the sweat gland. So the sweat gland, as you see, is a coiled tube supplied with blood capillaries and has one tube goes out of the body or out of the dermis and opens to the skin surface in the epidermis by a sweat pore. The sweat gland can extract the sweat from the blood, and the sweat goes out of the body through the pore that opens in the epidermis. So this pore must be cleaned regularly. So we need to clean up our skin regularly in order not to let the dust or strange particles to block these openings in the skin and make many diseases. Below the skin there is a fatty layer which is very important to make an isolating layer from the skin, from the body and the surrounding medium in order not to feel very hot or very cold and to be away from the change of temperature. Okay, so these are the parts of our skin. The second organ is the kidney. Actually, in lower vertebrates, the kidneys are long, thin organs at both sides of the vertebral column. But in higher vertebrates, like human being, the kidneys are more firm and situated or located behind the peritoneum membrane, also at both sides of the vertebral column, as you see here in this picture. So we have two kidneys at both sides of the vertebral column, which runs in the middle of the body and behind the peritoneum membrane. When we need to study the structure of the kidney, and as you see here in this picture, the structure of the kidney, it is a bean-shaped organ. The outer layer or the outer surface is convex and the inner surface is concave. As you see in this picture, it's very clear. The cortex represent a very narrow region outside, to the outside, and the medulla is the biggest region to the inside. If we measure the dimensions of the kidney, we can find its length is 12 centimeters in length, and its width is 7 centimeters, and its thickness is 2.5 or 3 centimeters in thickness. And as you see, the kidney is connected with blood vessels. The blood vessel which carries the blood to the kidney is called renal artery, and the other one which carries the blood away from the kidney is called renal vein. Yes, again, the cortex and the medulla. And scientists examined the structure, the anatomical structure of the kidney, and they found that it is composed of about 1 million unit, the functional unit, which is called nephron. So the nephron is the functional unit of the kidney. Actually, it is the function and the structural unit of the kidney. Each nephron carries out its function in the same way as the others. So they are similar in function, similar in structure. And this is why sometimes we say that a person can live with one kidney and not two kidneys, because the other one will enlarge and carries out the function of the two kidneys. Moreover, or more than this, that we can take part of the kidney, or we can remove part of the kidney, and we can live with 1/4 of the kidney volume, and this is because the other nephrons that remain in the part of this kidney can carry out the function of other nephrons. This is because the nephrons are similar in structure and in function. Now, how can the kidney extract urine from the blood? In this picture, we can see that the nephron is located in the cortex of the kidney. Yes, this red spot indicates the presence of the nephron, and this is the structure of the nephron. Actually, the nephron is composed of 2 parts. The first part is this one, which is called Bowman's capsule. It's shaped like a ball, and inside it, great number of blood capillaries called glomerulus. The glomerulus is the network of blood capillaries that fill the space inside the Bowman's capsule. After Bowman's capsule, we find tubes, and these tubes are divided into 3 regions. The first one is called the first coiled tube, and this part, which is U-shaped, is called loop of Henle, and we give it the name of the one who discovered it, so it's the loop of Henle. And the third part is the second coiled tube. After collecting the urine from the blood, the urine is poured in the collecting duct, which collects the urine from different nephrons and moves to find its way out of the body. Now, the first step in extraction of urine is called filtration. In filtration, the plasma of the blood, which is found in the glomerulus, is filtered out into Bowman's capsule. Can you see this picture? It's very clear, very excellent, because it shows the glomerulus, the network of blood capillaries inside the Bowman's capsule. So the plasma of the blood is filtered out into Bowman's capsule, most of it, but not the cells and not the proteins. So what is the component of the plasma of the blood? Can you remember? Yes, most of the plasma is water with dissolved substances, salts, sugars, or waste materials. All of these substances, or even poisonous substances, all of them are present in the plasma. So this plasma is filtered out into Bowman's capsule, and this liquid goes into the tubules of the kidney. The second step is reabsorption. Actually, the blood cannot remain with the less component or the less amount of plasma, so the blood must get back or regains its required amounts of water, salts, and any substance that needs. So it must keep its homeostasis, its osmotic potential. So it must get back the required amounts of its components. And this occurs in the coiled tubes. As you see in the coiled tubes, it is surrounded with a network of blood capillaries also. So during the passage of blood in these blood capillaries around the tubules, it reabsorbs, as we said, the required amounts of water and salts. The rest of materials that remain inside the coiled tube is the urine. And as you see, the urine goes into the collecting duct, and we will see how the collecting duct conveys this urine outside of the body. Okay, so don't forget 2 steps, the filtration and reabsorption. Now you need to practice how to draw the nephron. Try to follow me in drawing the nephron. As we said that the nephron is composed of Bowman's capsule, like this. And Bowman's capsule locates in the cortex of the kidney. And then the first coil, the loop of Henle, the second coil. Yes, it is the first coil and Henle's loop. And then the second coil. And the second coil pours the urine into the collecting duct. My dear student, you need to practice how to draw the nephron. Again, here is the network of blood capillaries, and it is called glomerulus. And this is Bowman's capsule. And this is the first coiled tube. And this is the loop of Henle. And this is the second coiled tube. And this is the collecting duct. Okay, it's very easy to be drawn. And you need to practice it very well because it may be one of the questions in the practical exam. Back to our urinary system. What is the urinary system composed of? Look at this picture, and it shows the parts of the urinary system. We have 2 kidneys, like this, as you see, right kidney and left kidney. And these kidneys are connected to blood vessels. Yes, try to follow the mouse. That's right. This is renal artery. And the renal artery is a branch of the biggest artery in the body, which is aorta. So this big one in red color, it is the aorta. And a branch from the aorta goes inside the kidney, and it is called renal artery. After being divided into many blood capillaries, it is collected again into venules, and then a vein. And this vein in blue color is renal vein. And the renal vein goes to join the inferior vena cava. Okay? And after collecting the urine and collected by the collecting ducts from different nephrons, the urine is poured in this region, which is called the pelvis. And the pelvis is a wide area in which the urine, the extracted urine, is poured and collected and moves into this tube and this tube, and these tubes are called ureters. So we have from each kidney a ureter, right ureter and left ureter. The ureters pour the urine into the urinary bladder, which is a wide sac, collects the urine until it is expelled out of the body through the urethra and sphincter muscle, which stores the urine for a while. Again, 2 kidneys, 2 ureters, urinary bladder, urethra, and sphincter muscle through which the urine is expelled out of the body. Now, we have a question. What happens if the 2 kidneys fail to carry out their function? If a person suffers from kidney failure, what will be the resolution? He must purify his blood, and he must go to the hospital to carry out blood purification using a device called artificial kidney. So the artificial kidney, which is a device, carries out the function of his kidneys because he cannot extract the urine from the blood. Now, as you see, the blood comes out from the person through a tube which enters the device, and the device contains a bowl containing a liquid, has components like the plasma, the same percentage of water and salts and many other substances. So it resembles the plasma. And of course, this liquid is changed from time to time during the purification of the blood. And as you see here is an arrow shows that the liquid comes from this opening and goes out from this opening. So it is changed quite often. During the passage of the blood into this coiled tube inside the device, and this tube must be containing its walls, semi-permeable membrane, through which the waste materials come out from the blood into this liquid. Again, the blood goes into the coiled tube inside the device and being filtered out from the waste materials, especially the urine, all of nitrogenous wastes, and excess amount of salt, excess amount of any other waste materials and poisonous substances. And the purified blood goes back to the person through the other tube. So this tube brings the blood into the device, and the other tube brings the blood into the person again. Actually, it takes some hours to be purified because it needs time to filter the blood, most of the blood, during this session. The liver is another excretory organ, and we cannot forget that the liver, we mentioned the function of the liver in excretion many times. Remember, when we studied the digestive system, we said that the liver, the digested food goes with the blood into the liver through the hepatic portal vein. Inside the liver, many things take place. What are these things? The liver takes the excess amount of carbohydrates in the form of sugars, actually glucose, and being stored into another form of carbohydrates called glycogen. Sugars are, the excess glucose is stored in the form of glycogen. What about the excess amount of amino acids? Yes, the liver deaminates the amino acid. Remember, we call the amino acid because it contains amino group. But if we take away or remove the amino group from the amino acid, it's not amino acid anymore. This is what the liver does. The liver deaminates the excess amount of amino acids to be nitrogenous compounds and to be expelled out of the body with the urine. The third function in excretion is to get the poisonous substances and to break them down into non-poisonous substances. And of course, all of these things will be secreted into the blood again, but in non-poisonous substances form to be collected by the kidneys and go with the urine outside of the body as excretory material. Again, the liver stores excess amount of sugar in the form of glycogen. Yes, deaminates the excess amount of amino acids and breaks down the poisonous substances and secreted into the blood again and get out of the body with urine. And now, my dear students, we come to the other part of our lesson today, which is the excretion in green plants. Excretion in green plants, actually it doesn't cause any serious problem. Why? Because the rate of metabolism in the plant is much less than the rate of metabolism in the animals of the same weight. So if we have two living organisms, one is an animal and another one is a plant of the same weight, for example 70 kilograms, so the plant carries out metabolic activities slowly and the rate is much less than the same weight, the animal of the same weight. So the accumulated waste materials in the plant is very low amount compared with that of the animal of the same weight. Okay, what are these excretory materials that the plant produce? Let us remember respiration. The respiration process, the plant gets oxygen and from the surrounding medium and produce carbon dioxide. But the carbon dioxide which is produced can be used again. In what? In what process? Yes, in photosynthesis. So the plant needs carbon dioxide which is produced from respiration in another process called photosynthesis. And not only the amount comes out from respiration is used, but the plant needs more. So it takes the carbon dioxide from the surrounding medium, whether it is a terrestrial plant gets it from the air, or water plant or aquatic plant gets it from the water. Anyhow, the plant needs more carbon dioxide than it produces during respiration, because the rate of building up, the rate of anabolism must be greater than the rate of catabolism. So the rate of photosynthesis must be more than the rate of respiration. But during photosynthesis, the plant produces oxygen. Yes, that's right. So the plant can either use this great amount of oxygen in respiration, or to let this excess oxygen go out through stomata with transpired water and to be expelled out of the plant through this device, which is a stomata. So the excess amount of oxygen can go out of the plant through stomata. But the plant needs some of this amount in respiration. So as you see here, the plant reuses some of the waste materials that we consider it is waste material, but the plant needs it or reuses it in carrying out its vital processes. Sometimes the plant absorbs water from the soil in greater amount that the plant needs. So there must be excess amount of water. So this water comes out from the plant by two shapes or two forms, liquid form or gas form. So the excess amount of water can be expelled out of the plant as water vapor or liquid water. And we're going to study this part after a while. The nitrogenous amounts or the nitrogenous wastes that are produced due to catabolism of proteins or excess amount of nitrogenous compounds, the plant reuses these nitrogenous compounds in carrying out the formation of its food like proteins. So when the plant needs to build up proteins, it reuses the nitrogenous compounds that are produced from breaking down proteins that were found in the plant. So the plant reuses the nitrogenous wastes in forming the proteins. What about the salts? Actually, sometimes the plant absorbs salts from the soil more than it needs. Remember, in the first chapter, in the first term, we studied the absorption of mineral salts from the soil. And the root can get rid of the excess salt into the soil back again. So if it absorbs more salts than it needs, it can get this salt away into the soil again. For example, we say that sometimes the plant absorbs nitrogen and the nitrogenous sodium, and the sodium can be in excess amount, so the sodium can be expelled out of the plant through the root and takes potassium instead. So we say that cation exchange takes place in the root. Sodium goes out and potassium goes into the root. This is one way. Another way, some of these salts can accumulate in the leaves of the plant, and during fall the plant shed down its leaves. So this is another way to get rid of the excess salts. But sometimes these salts are organic salts. So the plant stores them as insoluble salts or insoluble crystals found in the cell, which does not harm any function of the cell. So as we see here, many organs in the plant can be used to carry out excretion of the waste materials. Carbon dioxide, which accumulate in the leaves and stem, can go out of the plant through stomata. And if carbon dioxide is present in the root, also the root carbon dioxide can go out into the soil through the root. Oxygen, yes, the oxygen can be reused in respiration or go out through stomata. And water, many ways of excretion of water, and we are going to study them in details. And nitrogenous wastes can be reused to build proteins, and salts by many ways, as we said. Excretion in plants occurs by different ways. What is the difference between two types of ways by which the plant gets rid of the water, excess amount of water? Water is very important for the plant, but sometimes it accumulates inside the plant more than it needs. So it must get rid of this excess amount. Getting rid of water occurs by two ways. The first way is guttation, and the second way is transpiration. This picture or these pictures show what is guttation. Can you notice the drops of water at the edges of this leaf or this one? Yes, these droplets of water, of course, they are liquid water, not water vapor, not in the form of gases, it's liquid. And these drops of water are present or can be seen at the edges of the leaves of some plants. What are these plants? These plants are like potatoes and tomatoes. And we can notice them in the early morning in the spring. And these droplets of water come out from the leaves through a device called hydasode. What's hydasode? The hydasode is a device like stomata, but it is opened all the time and present at the edges of the plant, at the end of the veins and venules, as you see in this picture. Actually, it's a very nice picture to show the guttation. So in the early morning in the spring, we can notice drops of water present at the edges of the leaves of some plants, and this is due to the high rate of absorption of water from the soil and low rate of transpiration. So the transpiration doesn't help in getting rid of all the excess amount of water, so some of these water must come out of the plant, and they are here as you see at the edges of these leaves. The other way of excretion is transpiration. And transpiration, the plant gets rid of the excess amount of water in the form of water vapor by many ways. The first way, through stomata, and we call it stomatal transpiration. The stomata, remember, we studied in the first term, we studied the section, transverse section in a leaf of higher plant, and we noticed in the epidermis of the leaf there are openings, and these openings are guarded by two guard cells. Each opening is called stoma, and the stoma is guarded by two guard cells and open interiorly into a wide space, and this wide space surrounded by sponge cells, and this space is called air chamber. And this air chamber contains excess amount of gases that come out from the plant, or even the gases come inside the plant from the air. So the air chamber contains the transpired water in the form of water vapor and goes out into the atmospheric air, and it resembles about 90% of the total amount of transpired water. So transpiration must be in the form of water vapor. 90% of this water vapor comes out from stomata, so we call it stomatal transpiration. The other location where the water vapor comes out from is the cuticle layer. The cuticle layer also, as you remember, present covering the surface of the outer surface of the epidermal cells in the leaves and in the stems of the herbaceous plants. So this cuticle layer has very important function. Its function is to prevent the evaporation of water from the plant, because the plant carries out absorption of water from the soil, and it produces or exerts a very high effort to absorb this water by osmosis. And the cuticle layer must prevent the evaporation of water. But sometimes the cuticle layer is missed in certain parts, and these parts through which the water vapor comes out from. So we call this transpired water cuticular transpiration. So this transpiration called cuticular transpiration, and forms about 5% of the total amount of transpired water coming out from the plant. The third part, or the third location where the water vapor comes out from the plant, is the lenticels. Sometimes in big plants with big trunks, the trunks have very small openings, and these openings are called lenticels. And through these lenticels, some of the water comes out from the plant, and we call it lenticular transpiration. And it is very small amount. Okay, now we have three methods or three types of transpiration. Transpiration through stomata, we call it stomatal transpiration, cuticular transpiration, and lenticular transpiration. And of course, we can carry out a comparison between guttation and transpiration. Remember, my dear student, that guttation, the plant gets rid of the excess water in the form of liquid water, but in transpiration it is water vapor. In certain plants guttation occurs, but transpiration occurs in all plants. In guttation, the plant gets rid of this water through a device called hydathode, but here in transpiration goes out of the plant through stomata, cuticle layer, or lenticels. So three ways. And now another question. What is the importance of transpiration? Does the plant find an importance in transpiration? Is it important for the plant? Of course, yes. The first reason is to decrease the temperature surrounding the plant. As ourselves, we sweat during a hot temperature, or in summer, we sweat. And this sweat decreases the temperature surrounding our bodies. The plant does the same. It secretes or transpires this excess amount of water to decrease the temperature surrounding it, because the temperature is very dangerous for the plant. Very dangerous, may harm the plant, so it needs to decrease the temperature surrounding it. The other reason is to help the plant in ascending the water and dissolved salts from the soil through xylem vessels. And this part we studied before. Now we need to carry out an experiment to show that the plant transpires. In this experiment, we put a potted plant under a bell jar, and the pot is covered with plastic paper or plastic sack to prevent the evaporation of water from the soil. And after some hours, we noticed drops of liquids are accumulated in the inner surface of the bell jar. And by examining this liquid by anhydrous copper sulfate, we find it is water. so the plant transpires water, and we can examine this water. My dear students, I'm very pleased to introduce this lesson for you. I hope you could benefit from it. And if you have any question, please try to write it down and contact us to ask this question. Until we meet next time, goodbye.